Hi, my name is Dr. Megan Parkin and I am here to talk to you about Move. Move is one of the 4 pillars of health. The 4 pillars of health is a concept that there are 4 areas that you can work on to improve your health and well-being. Those 4 areas are movement, eating, sleeping and relaxing. The concept is they're all equally as important, so it doesn't matter how perfectly you're exercising or eating. If you're not sleeping well and you're not relaxing much, you're going to end up compromising your health. The basis of these pillars is based on a book by Dr. Rangan Chatterjee called The 4 Pillar Plan. So today I'm going to talk to you about movement. So my very first question to you, which I want you to have a think about and either have a chat with somebody or note down some answers or just go through it in your head, is what sort of movement makes you healthy? Have a think about, is there any movement that's better than others? What sort of movement do you think would be good? So the answer to that question really is any kind of movement. Any kind of movement is really, really good for you. It really doesn't matter what it is. And then the next question to think about is, why should you bother moving? Why should you bother exercising? What advantage is there to you? Just have a think about this for a few moments. Okay, so there's a whole host of things that are beneficial from moving. The first thing is most people end up in a better mood when they start doing exercise or moving around a lot. You also find you have an improvement in your concentration, and some people find their memory improves, along with improvement in energy levels. A lot of people start feeling better about themselves, and we see much lower incidences in stress when people are getting regular exercise. You also can find yourself getting stronger, and you can also find that it's really, really enjoyable. From a more long-term health benefit, we know that it reduces your risk of illnesses such as diabetes and heart disease. It also can have an impact potentially on things like Alzheimer's as well. And it improves your chances of not developing osteoporosis. We also know that weight loss can be associated with exercise, or if you're regularly exercising, just simply maintaining your weight. So, next thing to think about is, what sort of movements should you do? And what sort of movements do you currently do? So just maybe try and note down where exercise or movement comes into your daily life at the moment. Think about, what do you do in the mornings when you first get up? Do you walk to work or school or college? Do you do anything during the working or school day? And what do you do afterwards and in the evenings? What about the weekends? Do you include any exercise or any movement in your weekend plans? So what would be the best way to exercise? The best way to exercise is really doing any kind of exercise. It really doesn't matter. But generally, trying to do something on a regular basis is much more beneficial. So 5 minutes of exercise once a day is probably going to do you more benefit than doing 1 hour-long bit of exercise once a week. So trying to incorporate it into your day can be really, really helpful. The other thing to bear in mind is that for adults, once they get past the age of 30, really doing some form of strength exercise is really, really important, because you will start losing muscle mass from that point. So unless you're doing things specifically to improve your muscle mass, it will start dropping off. And losing muscle mass is associated with certain illnesses, but it's also associated with earlier death rates. So the next thing I'd like to talk to you about is muscles. So do you know what muscles do? Just have a think about, why are you covered in muscles? What's their benefit? Why do you have them? So the main reason is that they move parts of your body, and they actually keep you upright. If you didn't have muscles, then you'd struggle to stay upright. The other thing that muscles do is they contain insulin receptors, which are used to store the food that you eat. So the more muscle you have, the more insulin receptors you have. Now, what this means is that once all those insulin receptors are full up, any excess food left over starts to be stored as fat. So you can see there's a real benefit to having plenty of muscle and plenty of insulin receptors. Muscles also release chemical messengers every time you move them and use them. And those are positive messengers, and they cause reduced levels of inflammation, but they also release chemicals that actually make you feel good. So by doing exercise, you will start feeling better in yourself and notice that you have higher energy levels and better mood. The next thing I want to talk to you about is high intensity interval training, otherwise known as HIIT. So it's something that is often talked about, and essentially what it is it's doing some form of exercise, normally for somewhere between 30 seconds to a minute, very, very hard and very, very fast. So your heart's pumping, you're sweating, your breathing's really fast, and then you have a rest. They've done lots of studies and they've shown that doing 11 minutes of HIIT exercise a day is just as beneficial as doing a whole hour's worth of a workout. So you can see it can be a really time efficient way of working. HIIT's really good at increasing your energy levels. It's also really good at encouraging weight loss and also burning fat specifically. It's also been shown to be really good at increasing insulin sensitivity, far better than general forms of exercise. So it can be really, really helpful for people who might be diabetic or might be pre-diabetic in trying to reduce down their overall blood sugar levels. HIIT can be any form of exercise you want to, you just need to do it in intense bursts. What I'd like to show you now is some ideas of some 5-minute workouts. So the idea is you do a very quick warm up and then you do 1 minute of 5 different exercises. The idea of these exercises is you can do them anywhere and you can do them in your normal clothes. So you don't have to go and get changed, think about going to a specific area to do them. You can do them in your kitchen, you can do them in your garden, you can do them in your front room, wherever fits in with you. And what would be great is if you could try and do them at least once a day. By doing these exercises, you'll be specifically working on strengthening your muscles, but you can also play around with them. And if you do them very hard and fast and have a little rest in between, you will essentially be doing your HIIT exercises as well. So getting a double benefit there. What I've done is I've done some videos of these exercises. So each video will show you a different exercise. The first one is a general warm-up. Now might be a good time to find yourself a space and try and have a little go at it. Once you've done the warm-up, you will move on to the next exercise. This is the warm-up video. The idea is to try and get your hips and your arms nice and open. So you start off by doing a gentle squat with arm circles initially, arms going behind you, then arms going in front of you. Try and get as big a circle as possible with your arms and try and get a nice bend in your knees to squat. This will open up your hips and also your shoulders and your chest. Once you're feeling looser in this way, you can move forward to doing light lunges. So the aim here is not to get as low as possible, but more to stretch the legs a little bit and once again open up the hips a little bit. Again, with this exercise you can hold on to something if you're feeling a bit uncomfortable with it. Once you have done a few of these, normally suggest about 30 seconds of each one, you can move on to doing some torso twists. So knees loosely bent, and the idea is you're twisting from the waist. This is to try and get your obliques a little bit more warmed up and also helps with your shoulders and your hips as well at the same time. Last exercise is to try and loosen up your back. So feet hip width distance apart, arms straight up overhead, and do a large sweeping motion, aiming to get your arms as low to the floor as possible. Do 5 in one direction and then 5 in the other direction. With this, if your back is uncomfortable doing it, just go as low as comfortable. This will also help stretch out your hamstrings. Each of the videos works on a series of progressions, starting off with the really easiest thing that you could do, which even if you can't do all the way is a really good starting point. What you will find is if you keep doing these exercises, you will gradually be able to progress. So you may find you can go from slightly bending your knees in a squat to actually fully being able to squat right down with your arms overhead. This obviously will take potentially many weeks and months to achieve, but you will definitely see a huge benefit if you do it on a regular basis. So the first exercise is squats. This is the first in the series of exercise. It is squats. To start off with, I'm suggesting you try and do a squat with your arms overhead. If actually squatting is too difficult, like this, to start off with, pop your hand on a chair to gently squat down. When you're squatting, you're aiming to bend your knees so your knees goes over your toes and get your bottom as far as you can to the ground, but obviously remember you've got to get back up again. Squatting with your arms overhead is a good way to make sure your balance is okay and you're not going too far. Once you're comfortable with that, if you start pushing your arms up in a pushing motion as you squat up, this increases the amount of energy you're burning and uses more muscle groups. You can always try and use weights in each hand if you feel comfortable doing this. The next step with this exercise is to push your arms forwards as well as pushing them up. Each time you do this, try and keep it in time with your squat. This video shows you the next exercise, which is lunges with various different progressions. So to start off with, we're doing static lunges. So this is the easiest one to do. You start off with your feet in two fixed positions and just gently lower your back leg down to the ground with your front leg bending. You can always hold onto a chair or something to help you do this. Once you are comfortable doing this, you can move to moving the front leg forward and then back again as you go down. Again, trying to aim to get the knee down to the ground. Make sure you do an even number on each leg. And again, this could be done by putting your hand on the side of a chair or a table for support if you're feeling a bit wobbly. When you feel comfortable doing that, you can progress through to walking lunges. The idea is you take a big step forward and bend your knee down to the ground with every movement. Try and keep your body upright as possible, and if you try and keep your core sucked in, then that will help you with the balance for this. If you're feeling really comfortable doing that and want to progress further, you can add in a twist. So you get your arms outstretched and you twist to the side of the leg that is furthest forward. This is a really good one to try and improve your balance and works on your core as well as working on your thighs and your glutes. This video shows you the next exercise called the wood chop. It's as though you are chopping wood. You imagine you've got an axe between your hands. Initially you can start off doing it above your head down to the floor, and then you can move from going from one side to the opposite side. When you're doing it, it's meant to be an explosive movement. It gets your glutes moving. It also involves you keeping your core tight and also involves lots of arm movements. You can obviously do it as slowly as you need to start off with to get the technique correct. Fourth exercise is a push-up progression. So starting off in a table position, and the idea is you go down on your forearms and then push up onto a straight arm. If you're feeling comfortable in the table position, you can then move forward so you're leaning much further forward, so you're only resting your lower legs on the ground. Once you feel comfortable doing that, you can move to being in a plank position, doing the movement of the arms to push yourself up. Once you feel stronger, you can then move into doing a push up, making sure you keep your back nice and straight and your core held in tight. If you're feeling comfortable with that, you can do plank twists. So you stack your feet and rotate round, aiming to lift your arm up to the sky and keeping your body nice and straight and your hips lifted. The last progression is called a renegade row. So you go into a push-up and then you move one arm back, pulling back on your shoulder blade as you do this. This works not only your core, but also your back muscles as well. Fifth exercise is all about progressing up towards mountain climbers. Mountain climbers are great for maintaining a really good core. So to start off by practicing some squats. Once you feel comfortable with those, you can move from bringing one knee up to the opposite elbow in a crunch type position. The idea is to keep your balance nice and stable throughout this. If you're comfortable doing that, you can move to a slow mountain climber. So you bring your opposite knee up to the opposite elbow, keeping your back nice and straight, your hips low to the ground, and your core held in tight. You can then progress to doing this far faster. The key thing is to try and keep your shoulders nice and stable and keeping your abs tight at all times. All of these exercises can be done either at the very easiest version, going right through to the hardest version. As you find your strength increases, you can also consider adding in weights while you're doing it. It's worthwhile setting yourself a minute timer and doing it for a minute each time. Or if when you start off, you can just manage even 20 or 30 seconds, then that's going to give you a lot of benefit. How did doing those exercises make you feel? Some people might feel quite tired already. Other people might start feeling a little bit better in themselves, a little bit more alert or a little bit more awake. It's worthwhile, if you are feeling positive, holding on to that feeling and trying to remember it tomorrow and try and push yourself to do them again. The exercises don't have to be exactly like the exercises I've shown you. Really, anything will make a positive difference for you. If you start feeling uncomfortable or in pain doing any of them, please do stop and consider whether you're doing them exactly the right way or whether it's a particular movement that's aggravating things for you. If that persists, it might be worth speaking to a physiotherapist or your GP about that. So the challenge to everybody is, could this become part of your day? Could you start doing this every morning when you get up? Or even better, start doing it just before you eat your evening meal or your lunch. There have been studies that show that exercising in the 5 minutes or 10 minutes before you eat means that you burn more calories and you actually process that food far more efficiently. The next thing I want to talk about is walking. What do you think? Is walking a good exercise? Just have a little think about that and think, do you think it's good? Is it worthwhile doing? Generally, walking is considered a really great exercise. One of the main advantages of it is it's completely accessible to most people. And even if you struggle with walking, just practicing and walking a very small distance every day is going to do you benefit, and gradually you will increase up and be able to walk further and further. Do you know how much walking you should do a day? There seems to be a general sort of feeling that 10,000 steps a day is a good target to achieve. This is a fairly sort of arbitrary figure and roughly works out to about 5 miles a day, or possibly about an hour and a half at a sort of moderate walking pace. There's no real hard and fast on this. And I think the key thing is that for most of us, walking more than we currently do and trying to be more active during the day is going to be beneficial for you. One of the easiest ways to add walking into your day is to either walk to school, college, or to work. And that can make a huge difference to the number of steps you do each day and overall to your health. What I'd like to do now is set you a challenge called the 5-minute walking challenge. The idea of this challenge is that every single day you spend 5 minutes walking as fast as you possibly can. The idea is you leave from the same place every day and see how far you can get in that 5 minutes. And then once you get there, you think, okay, I've got to number 87, and then gradually, casually walk back or carry on your way to work or wherever you're going. The next day, you do exactly the same thing, walking as fast as you can. Over time, you'll see that you get further and further in those 5 minutes. Another way you can do it, if you want to make it hit, is you can walk as fast as you possibly can for 1 minute and then comfortably walk back to where you started, walk as fast as you possibly can for 1 minute again, and repeat this 5 times. That would be another way to get that hit into your daily life. The walking challenge, I think, can be really, really helpful for people because it can just mean just trying to think and consciously be aware of the need to be more active. It can also become part of school days. The next thing I want to talk to you about is posture and having weak glutes and being quite bent over. Now, for a lot of people, they spend a lot of time being quite hunched over, and that can be associated with back pain, hip pain, and knee pain. As you can see on the slide, there's a picture of someone up nice and straight and walking along, but there's also a picture of someone hunched over. Have a think about what sort of activities you think may well trigger that sort of posture. Okay, so the key one is sitting at a computer or sitting at a desk or being sat on a sofa, hunched over your laptop or your phone. And that is really becoming a really big problem for a lot of people. A lot of people spend a lot of time hunched forwards, hands up in front of them, looking at their phone with their head back, found forwards. What this causes is it causes a real stretching out of the muscles on the back of your body and a real tensing of the muscles at your front of the body. So people can get increased muscles at the front of their neck, and they tend to get very, very weak glutes, so the bottom muscles. Now, the problem with your glutes becoming weak is they are really the muscles that attach the top part of your body to the bottom part of your body. So if your glutes end up being weak, it can really cause a lot of back pain. Other things that can really increase this sort of posture and behavior, sitting at a car, playing computer games, all of the sorts of things that we often associate with doing, potentially more in the winter, but also most of us for a lot of our day-to-day life. The exercises that I showed you before can be really beneficial to try and increase the strength in your glutes and try and increase some of the muscles across the back of your body to try and counteract that problem. As can stretching, which we're going to show you a quick video now of some stretching exercises that you might want to do to try and stretch out your body. These can either be useful after you've done a workout or can be really nice to do just at the end of the day, just to try and stretch everything out. This video shows you some gentle stretching, starting with a full body stretch lying on your front with your arms and legs outstretched. Then moving into a cat position on all fours with your back arched up towards the sky, and then into a cow where your tummy sinks down towards the ground. After moving from this position, move back onto your heels and put your arms around behind your feet into what can be called as a pebble position. Then move forward with your arms outstretched in front of you, getting a further stretch, and then move forward onto your tummy with your back upright as far as you can go. And finally, move one leg forward into a low lunge and twist towards that leg, and then swap your legs round and twist the other way. I very quickly move through these positions, but you could spend as long as you want in each position getting a nice stretch. We've now come to the end of the session, and I've thrown lots of information at you and also hopefully given you lots of different ideas of ways that you can incorporate movement into your daily life. I hope you've enjoyed the session and you'll join me for one of the other 4 pillars of health.